Hello, my name is Ray Salazar, and this is Morning Reel, a film review podcast. I review all kinds of films of all nationalities, of all lengths of time, all kinds of productions, all kinds of languages. Today, I talk about the film Elvis. It's a 2022 biographical film directed by Baz Luhrmann, written by Luhrmann, Sam Brommel, Craig Pierce, and Jeremy Donner. Now, I just read you the writers. It took that amount of writers for this film? Honestly, I doubt that it got Best Original Screenplay. It shouldn't, because it took 4 people to write it. I mean, come on, dude. What kind of crap is that compared to other people who wrote themselves, right? Anyways, the story is by Baz Luhrmann and Jeremy Donner, produced by Baz Luhrmann, Catherine Martin, Gail Berman, Patrick McCormick, and Schuler Weiss, starring Austin Butler, who plays Elvis Presley, Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker, also starring Olivia DeJonge, Helen Thompson, Richard Roxburgh, Kelvin Harrison Jr., David Wenham, Cody Smith McPhee, and Luke Bracey. Cinematography by Mandy Walker, who I applaud her. Walker did a great job on this film. Honestly, that was one of the most impressive things of this film is really the cinematography and the editing, which goes to Matt Villa and Jonathan Redmond. I don't know if it had to take 2 people to edit this film, but if it took 2 people to edit this film, it took 2 people to edit this film. The editing is great. It's kind of crazy. It sort of makes the film, for me, feel unbalanced because, well, it's not necessarily the editor's job, but they do play a role, right? It all goes to the screenplay itself, how the movie was supposed to be portrayed, and I understand how the film was supposed to be portrayed. It's supposed to be exactly who Elvis was, the king of rock, a rock star, superstar, a man who was beloved and hated almost equally by the world. As far as the screenplay is concerned, it feels unbalanced. It's not unorganized. It is an organized film to see. It does go from when he was a kid to the point where he passed away and a little bit more. It's a time capsule. It's a reminder of who this person was. I'm not sure if he had much impact to the world, but the man did have an impact to the music industry and at some point the film industry, because that man starred in so many roles that he starred himself with 0 acting experience. Imagine that, and people still loved it. Now, I'm definitely going to review one of Elvis's films. I won't say which one. I'll probably do 2, but if you want me to do it, you can request it at officialmorningreel@gmail.com. You can send me all kinds of requests, comments, and questions of this podcast and episodes of this podcast. It's not a bad acted film. The writing itself, as far as dialogue, it's all right. It's okay. It has its moments. The parts that I just couldn't. It's not the parts, but like some parts of the film, especially in the first act of the film, it wastes no time into Elvis's childhood to teenhood, where obviously in his teenhood he blew up. He made a record and blew up. Toured, hooked up with the Colonel, and the rest is history. I don't like how fast it went, as far as pretty much like setting us up as to how Elvis became Elvis. Like, why was he into gospel, rhythm and blues? Who introduced it to him? I don't mind like it's cool that they added such important figures in music into his life, because obviously, it happened, right? According to the biography of the film and, accounts of his life, whatnot. That's great. I like that they introduced that. It's very important that people know who these artists and musicians were, because a lot of these people were, in some ways, much more talented than Elvis. Elvis had a pretty face, he had a great voice, he knew how to work the audience. What Elvis came to be, first act, too fast for me. It's just too fast. I wish they kept a certain moment, or I wish they picked a certain time of his life, like a specific moment, and like embraced it. It's embraced too quickly, in my opinion. I wish they would spend more time on that. All the way to the middle of the second act is where things start to mellow down. It starts to, I guess, like the audience caught up emotionally. Or rather, it's not the audience that caught up emotionally. It's that the film finally caught up to the emotions of the film. And to me, that's a big foundation as far as how the story moves forward and how we can even give a crap to even care about the film, period. There's pizzazz. The cinematography, like I said, is great. They lit Elvis very well. They knew how to light certain scenes or aspects of certain shots where they're inserted into different parts of the film when it comes to transitioning from a story in his life to the next. In some ways, I do like that. It's very interactive. It's in your face. It's a spoon-fed type of thing that you're dealing with, especially to people who know about Elvis. Like, we are reminded as the film goes on as to how important this person is. Now, editing and the cinematography go hand in hand very, very well in this film in some aspects, right? To me, it's what makes the film strong. Forget the storytelling. Storytelling is important. The cinematography and editing lifted the film up, and it did its best for the lack of some of the writing in this film. Now, Tom Hanks playing the Colonel. My boy, dude. How many times is he gonna say my boy, dude? Did he really say that so many times in real life? Not like it matters, but like it's a bit excessive. And they made the Tom Parker character very one-dimensional. Like, he's as important as Elvis is, because this man was basically responsible for this person's life and career, and almost up until the day he died. Unfortunately, obviously, Parker was not the greatest person to look up to or to even work with in some ways. They made him they just made him evil. And in some ways he was evil. Like, he was evil, but I wish they can show some depth into that character as far as like, why is he so evil? Like, what is it really the money? Is he really just drawn to money and success, and he's just willing to do whatever he needs for Elvis to do the work? I wish they showed a certain side of him as to why he's like this. Like, there has gotta been some type of documentation as to like the life of the Colonel. Like, what was he behind closed doors when he's not with Elvis? You know what I'm saying? Where's that at? All we saw is Elvis, son Priscilla. We saw the mom very well. We saw Vernon, the father. Those are cool. Those are fine. But yeah, man, if you got two major characters like the Colonel and Elvis, it should be equal. Man, the casting for Elvis, now that's a problem. What can I say, man? They chose the guy who they wanted Elvis to be, and that's that guy. Would I have chosen him? Fuck no, man. I would have chosen somebody else. There are so many Elvis impersonators in Las Vegas alone. They couldn't find somebody. At least they could have found somebody, dude. Because I'm sorry, but the Elvis in this film does not look like Elvis. And maybe, who cares, right? At the end of the day, who cares? Because is it really about how Elvis looks like? Or is it really about the story, the tribute to Elvis, the man, with this film? And realistically speaking, it should be that. But if you're spending so much fucking money to make a quote unquote masterpiece in tribute to the king of rock, a figure who we will know forever, really. Like, there's no way getting around this guy. He's here to stay within our hearts, minds. They couldn't get nobody else. They couldn't spend all that fucking research. They couldn't help the casting director, dude. Come on, man. There could have been a better Elvis. I really think there could have been a better Elvis. I can't name somebody who looked more like Elvis than the guy playing it, Andrew, but either way, overall, I did enjoy this film. This is a film that everybody should see, whether you're a fan of Elvis or not, a fan of music or not, especially people like B.B. King, Little Richard, and other artists from that Elvis era. Overall, I would give this film 3 out of 4. It was really hard for me to give a score for this one because it's just been all over the place as far as like accolades, Golden Globes, Oscars, TIFF. I could understand as to why they would choose this film for it to be a nominee for Best Picture. I don't think it's Best Picture. I think it's a pretty good film. I think it's better than Bohemian Rhapsody. I haven't reviewed that yet. Even I have a problem with that movie as far as casting is concerned, but that's another topic of discussion. I don't know. I mean, you saw Ray. Great film. They chose certain parts of the film to be highlighted, the good and the bad and the ugly, and it works. I will give the credit, and I will give the flowers to the people who were involved in this film, Elvis, because I am a fan of Elvis. I love his work. I love his music, even though he didn't write crap. He has a beautiful voice. He had a stage presence, and a lot of people look up to that type of thing and were inspired by that type of thing. And look where we are today with all kinds of acts basically doing Elvis, but in their own way. And Elvis did that too in life. He did his shit his own way. And he didn't really care whether people liked it or not. He just did his thing because that's just what he loves. And you can't take that from anybody, let alone the king of rock. But yeah, all the flowers to that production. I mean, if you think it's a best picture, it's a best picture. To me, it's not best picture. To me, it's not best acting. To me, it's best editing. Probably cinematography. Sound design, because it did have really good sound design. The costume, wardrobe, the production design. To me, masterpiece. Masterful. I can tell that that's where most of the money went to that. And it works. But you can't have all that big fancy stuff if you have a weak script. My name is Ray Salazar. This is Morning Shot Films. That is on IG and YouTube. Follow the Morning Real podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, such as Google Play, iHeart, you name it. Now, this is the month of February. Hello, February. Black History Month, the month of love. I already set a film for me to review that will come out for Valentine's Day. I can't wait to review it. I've always been wanting to watch this film. I read the screenplay because I bought the book at the last bookstore in downtown LA. Shout out to them. $5. Can't beat that. Come on. So yeah, I'm very excited for this month as far as reviewing films. I'm going to review all kinds of films. I might do some blaxploitation. Thank you, HBO Max.